Can you please have a seat? We are going to start. Thank you.
Dear colleagues, please note that the Bureau at its 7th meeting this morning recommended to the plenary that, as indicated during our 4th meeting, following the request received from the state parties to move their timing for examination of their nominations, I wish to inform you that the following nominations will be examined first today during our morning session. Ancient Jericho, Tel al-Sultan, Palestine, and the Silk Road, Zarafshan, Karakum Corridor, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan. We will then have another 12 nominations files to examine today. The list can be found on the updated calendar posted by the Secretariat on the World Heritage Center's webpage for this session. Furthermore, I wish to inform you that we have received requests for 2 more nominations to be moved follow as Cultural Landscape of Kilinga People and Koyolo, Azerbaijan, to be advanced from Tuesday 19th September morning to Monday 18th September in the morning. Also, Bale Mountains National Park, Ethiopia, 8B27, to be advanced from Wednesday 20th September morning to Monday 18th September in the afternoon. Thank you very much. Before inviting ICMUS to present the nomination of the ancient Jericho, Tel al-Sultan, Palestine, I would like to pass the floor to the Assistant Director General for Culture for a short remark. You may have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. I just wanted to recall that the property proposed for nomination is the prehistoric archaeological site of Tel el-Sultan, located outside the antique site of Jericho. Later historical developments which span over millennia and are demonstrated by material remains beyond the boundaries of Tel el-Sultan constitute a rich cultural context, worth of historical interest and preservation, covering, among others, Jewish and Christian heritage. However, this is not the focus of the proposed nomination. And also, on another note, we receive a factual error notification, which is on page 132 of both the English and French version of the document INV.8.B4. I would like to inform you that there is consensus on the adoption of the draft decision as a whole without amendments. Thank you, Mr. Chairperson.
Thank you very much. ICMUS, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning all. This is the presentation of the ICMUS evaluation of ancient Jericho, Tel al-Sultan, Palestine. The ICMUS report can be found in document INF 8B1 on page 308 of the English version and page 401 of the French version. On this evaluation, ICMUS has received a letter on factual errors and has acknowledged some clarifications provided by the state party. Next slide, please. Located in the Jordan Valley, the nominated property is the archaeological site of Tel al-Sultan an oval-shaped tell that contains the archaeological deposits of millennia of human activity. The chronological framework for the nominated property with respect to its proposed outstanding universal value is limited to the Neolithic and Bronze Age periods. Archaeological and historical evidence related to the functioning of the city of Jericho in the antiquity that falls outside of this time frame is not included in the nominated property. Earlier and later historical developments, which span several millennia and are demonstrated by material remains beyond the boundaries of the nominated property into the wider setting of the Jericho oasis, constitute the cultural context and are not the focus of the nomination. By the 9th to 8th millennium BC, a sizable Neolithic settlement with monumental features and communal structures developed at the site of Tel es-Sultan. It reflected the process of development of large and permanent settlements and introduction of sedentary lifestyles across the Levant. The early Bronze Age archaeological evidence shows signs of urban planning, and vestiges from the Middle Bronze Age reveal the presence of a large Canaanite city-state occupied by a socially complex population. The Ain es-Sultan Spring has been an important source of water for the inhabitants of this area and is part of the nominated property. Tel es-Sultan is an outstanding example of a permanent settlement with a long history that illustrates the transition of the people of Levant to a sedentary lifestyle, which was accompanied by the development of new subsistence economies. The rich archaeological material includes shared structures, monumental features, and post-mortem treatment of human remains, testify to the development of new social and ritual methods of communal living. Tel es-Sultan further allows to observe the developments of building traditions in both private and public spheres in the Neolithic and later in the Bronze Age. The ramparts dating to the Middle Bronze Age show outstanding evidence in innovative construction techniques. The comparative analysis was improved by the State Party during the evaluation process and demonstrates the significance of this site within its geocultural context. The nominated property demonstrates criteria 3 and 4, but ICOMOS has concluded that criterion 2 has not been demonstrated. Next slide, please. The nominated property is a national archaeological park. The State Party has proposed a buffer zone and an additional outer zone of protection, both of which should preferably be combined in the future. The archaeological sites that testify to the relocation of the urban center of the Jericho oasis away from Tel es-Sultan in the Hellenistic period have been left outside the buffer zone as they are a considerable distance from the nominated property. The requirements for authenticity and integrity have been met. Next slide, please. The legal protection at local and national levels is satisfactory. The management system is also satisfactory, although key elements of the overall strategy will be established by the management and conservation plan, which is under preparation. There is a need to acquire copies of documentation of earlier archaeological work held by institutions in other countries, and to enhance the human and financial resources available to the nominated property. Archaeological investigations have occurred at the Tel since the late 19th century and include excavations that have been taking place since the early 20th century, and a research strategy is being developed as part of the management system. The nominated property is affected by erosion, tourism pressures, and urbanization. The State Party has indicated that it has started negotiations to relocate a tourist facility that is currently encroaching on the site. It has also indicated that it will seek to remove in the future an intrusive cable car system. Recently, conservation works have taken place, including backfilling of trenches, restoration of collapsed structures, and consolidation of walls. Rehabilitation works have also been done at the spring. Some elements and areas within the nominated property require urgent conservation attention and continued maintenance. Next slide, please. Here is a summary of the ICOMOS evaluation of the proposed outstanding universal value of the nominated property. Next slide, please. To conclude, ICOMOS recommends that that ancient Jericho, Tel es-Sultan, Palestine, be inscribed in the World Heritage List on the basis of criteria 3 and 4, and has included a number of recommendations in the draft decision to aid the long-term conservation of the property. Next slide, please. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, ICMOS, for your presentation. I now invite you to adopt draft decision 45Com 8B 36, and there is no interventions from the floor. I therefore declare draft decision 45Com 8B 36 adopted. Congratulations to the State of Palestine on behalf of the entire committee for the inscription of this property. Palestine, you may have the floor for 2-minute statements.
شكرا سيدي الرئيس. شكرا سيدي الرئيس. Let me first highlight the fact that this is the first nomination submitted by the State of Palestine on a normal procedure and prepared by our local experts with the support of 4 international experts who served as critical friends. All my thanks and appreciation to these experts. Some of them are present here today. To the Mayor of Jericho and his dedicated team for their contribution to the success of this nomination. Unfortunately, they couldn't be present for some technical reasons. I regret their absence. We are glad that ancient Jericho Tel Sultan, Palestine, was recommended for immediate inscription because of its OUV, but also for its uniqueness. Allow me, Mr. Chair, to express my gratitude and sincere thanks to members of the committee, to the advisory bodies, especially ICOMOS, to all the excellent team of the World Heritage Center under the leadership of its director, Mr. Lazaro Londo, and Mr. ADG for Culture, Mr. Ernesto Otone. Allow me also, Mr. Chair, to cordially invite you and all members of the committee, the Secretariat, all state parties present here, as well as observers, to the side event that will be held at 1 o'clock in Wahat Al-Ahsa room. Last but not least, my message today is that all those I mentioned, I mean member states, the Secretariat, the advisory bodies, and all partners of UNESCO constitute a close-knit family. Sometimes family members have different opinions and views. My wish is to maintain and protect the spirit of a united family at UNESCO. Yes, we can, and yes, we should. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, and congratulations again.
Please, no applause now. Please keep the applause for the intervention of my minister. Over to my minister. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Please conclude in a short manner. Thank you.
Yes. شكرا. السيد الرئيس، أصحاب المعالي والسعادة، الحضور الكريم. اسمحوا لي بداية أن أتقدم لكم بالشكر والتقدير وإلى المملكة العربية السعودية بقيادة خادم الحرمين الشريفين الملك سلمان بن عبد العزيز وولي عهده الأمين محمد بن سلمان حفظهم الله على هذه الاستضافة الكريمة. باسم دولة فلسطين وباسم سيادة الرئيس محمود عباس والشعب الفلسطيني أشكركم على تسجيل موقع أريحة القديمة تل السلطان على قائمة التراث العالمي. فدولة فلسطين تحتفل اليوم بتسجيل أحد أهم مواقعها الأثرية الفلسطينية على قائمة التراث العالمي كتراث إنساني عالمي يشهد على تطور الحضارة الإنسانية في العصر الحجري الحديث والعصر البرونزي، ويبين أهمية دور فلسطين في الحفاظ على الموقع للبشرية جمعاء. أريحة القديمة تل السلطان هي أقدم مدينة زراعية محصنة في العالم. تم إقامتها قبل 10,000 عام و4,000 عام قبل إقامة المدن المحصنة في الفترات اللاحقة، وهو إنجاز حضاري تفردت به أريحة القديمة وتميزت عن غيرها من المواقع، فكانت أول نموذج ناجح للمستقرات البشرية الدائمة والمنظمة ضمن نمط معماري فريد ونظام اجتماعي سياسي واقتصادي مزدهر، وأحد أهم المراكز الأساسية للثورة الزراعية القائمة على تدجين النباتات والحيوانات. ألهم العالم لبناء وتنظيم المراكز الحضرية والانتقال إلى مرحلة الإنتاج الغذائي
شكرا لسعادتكم.
والتي
نرغب في
أرست
الختام
الأسس
بإيجاز.
لبناء العالم الحديث. ودون فهم هذه القيم والتعرف عليها فإن كتب التاريخ الحضاري تبقى ناقصة وتفقد أصولاً مهمة لفهم تطور الحضارة. وأخيراً أود التأكيد أن الهدف الأساسي من هذا التسجيل هو الحفاظ على الموقع للبشرية جمعاء، والذي يعتبر أمراً بالغ الأهمية لكي تعرف البشرية نفسها. ويسعدني دعوتكم لزيارة هذا الموقع الفلسطيني الفريد واستكشاف مهد الحضارات، وشكراً لكم.
شكرا لسعادتكم. Congratulations again. I now invite ICOMOS to present the transnational nomination Silk Road, Zarvashan, Karakum, Corridor, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan. ICOMOS, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. This is the presentation of the ICOMOS evaluation of Silk Road's Zarafshan to Karakum corridor, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan. The ICOMOS report can be found in document INF 8B1 on page 94 of the English version and page 100 of the French version. The three states parties invited an ICOMOS advisory mission in 2016 as part of their development of this nomination. Next slide, please. Extending over 866 kilometers in Central Asia and spanning from the 2nd century BCE to the 16th century CE, the Zarafshan-Karakum corridor comprises 34 component sites within the Republic of Tajikistan, the Republic of Uzbekistan, and Turkmenistan. The corridor traverses three main geocultural areas: the mountain section in the east, the plains section in the center, and the desert section in the west. Next slide, please. The nominated serial property is a major segment of the Silk Roads in Central Asia, a central nodal point of international trade. People traveled, traded, settled, conquered, or were defeated here, involving an immense diversity of peoples, ethnicities, cultures, religions, sciences, and technologies over time. The component parts include archaeological sites, small towns, forts, way stations, and commercial and religious buildings, and demonstrate the array of raw materials, foods, and high-value commodities that were traded. Control of these corridors was of vital significance to many of the great Silk Road's empires, and some of the component parts demonstrate the tremendous wealth generated by Silk Road's merchants. There were three especially prosperous periods, starting with the rise of Sogdian merchants between the 5th and 8th centuries CE, the flourishing trade with the Muslim world between 10th and 12th centuries CE, and during the period of the Mongol rule from the 13th to 17th century CE. Next slide, please. Based on extensive collaborative work, an ICOMOS thematic study on the Silk Roads had identified 54 distinctive corridors. This nomination covers one of these and part of another. The comparative analysis justifies consideration of the nominated transnational property on the World Heritage List. While proposed on the basis of a larger suite of cultural criteria, ICOMOS considers that the transnational serial property meets criteria 2, 3, and 5. Next slide, please. The 866 kilometers corridor spans from east to west along the Zarafshan River, following ancient caravan roads and crossing the Karakum Desert to the Merv Oasis. The requirements for authenticity and integrity have been met. The serial property as a whole showcases the exchange of ideas and knowledge along the Silk Roads as the result of the movement of people and goods. At the individual component part level, all the attributes that are needed to convey the outstanding universal value of the property are included. There are 9 component parts located in Tajikistan, 16 in Uzbekistan, and 9 in Turkmenistan. The rationale for the selection of the components is well explained, and ICOMOS considers that the 34 components are sufficient to justify outstanding universal value, but also suggests that additional sites could be proposed as potential future extensions when conditions allow, particularly sites associated with water management and irrigation systems. Next slide, please. The legal protection is satisfactory, although it requires consistent enforcement. In relation to the state of conservation, a number of the component parts are vulnerable to wind erosion, rising damp and salt, requiring regular maintenance, continued research and monitoring. Although past conservation interventions resulted in some losses of authenticity, recent conservation measures have applied internationally accepted principles. The management system is adequate, although the full development of management plans and associated elements are still in progress. Additional recommendations have been provided to continue to strengthen its ability to address the pressures and enhance the interpretation of the Silk Roads. Next slide, please. Here is a summary of the ICOMOS evaluation of the proposed outstanding universal value of the nominated property. Next slide, please. Since the 2016 advisory mission, ICOMOS notes the detailed and high-standard work done by the three states parties, which has greatly augmented this proposal. To conclude, ICOMOS recommends that the Silk Roads, Zarafshan-Karakum corridor, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan be inscribed in the World Heritage List on the basis of criteria 2, 3, and 5, and has included a number of further recommendations in the draft decision to aid the long-term conservation of the property. Next slide, please. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, ICOMOS. I would like to see if there are any comments from the floor concerning this nomination. Al-Hind.
Thank you, Excellency. Thank you for giving floor to India. On the agenda item 45, COM 8B13, Silk Road, Zafarshan, Karakum corridor, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, which has got an inscription recommendation by the expert body for cultural sites. The nomination was submitted under criteria 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and is recommended for inscription under criteria 2, 3, and 5. The nomination is located along the Zafarshan River, its wider hydrological basin, and the Karakum Desert. It was identified in the Silk Road's ICOMOS thematic study as the 4th and 5th corridors out of 54. These areas are in India's neighborhood in the northwest. India has historical and civilizational links with Central Asia and congratulates the people and governments of Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan for the success of this historical nomination and dossier. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Our delegation strongly supports the inscription of the Silk Road's serial and transboundary nomination of Zaraf-Shah-Karakum corridor under criteria 2, 3, and 5. We also commend the state parties for the excellent collaborative work for the preparation of the dossier. We consider that this nomination fully benefited from the extensive research and experience acquired from the inscription of other Silk Road corridors.
Oman, point of order.
Indeed, from our point of view,
Oman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I mean, to our understanding, when there is inscription, we don't debate. So you are opening the debate now for inscription. We want to know. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. So, as discussed previously, if it's adopted without discussion or debate, that's something like we encourage, so that like to move forward with the heavy agenda, but it's the call of the committee members if they want to take the floor or not. But this is our proposal is to move forward without debate.
Excuse me, could I conclude
Indeed.
this statement? Okay, thank you. From our point of view, among the strongest elements of this nomination is its complementarity and interaction with similar...
Point of order, India.
Excellency,
Okay.
we had raised our board before. I want the legal advisor to please let us know under which rules of procedure or the operational guidelines was the Omani objection raised, and under which rules of procedure and operational guidelines was the Omani objection responded to. Thank you.
Legal advisor, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I should recall Rule 14 of the Rules of Procedure of the Committee, which says, among others, that you, the chairperson of the committee, shall direct the discussions, ensure the observance of the rules, and accord the right to speak, put questions to the vote, and announce decisions. In that capacity, Mr. Chair, you have the authority to organize the debate and accord the right to speak. Mr. Chair, I would defer to you and the Secretariat to recall the recommendations that you have made at the beginning of the debate on this item 8 with respect to nominations and how the debate should be conducted. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Greece, you may conclude and we move forward.
Thank you. From our point of view, among the strongest elements of this nomination is its complementarity and interaction with similar yet diverse components located in different geographical areas of Central Asia. All combined highlight the concept of the itinerary as well as a set of values and attributes. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Now I invite you to adopt the draft decision 45-COM 8B.13, but before doing so, I would like to ask the rapporteur if she has received any amendment on the draft decision proposed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have received no amendment for the draft decision 45-COM 8B13. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Therefore, are any comments on this matter? I see none, and I therefore declare draft decision 45-COM 8B13 adopted. Congratulations to Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan on behalf of the entire committee. And I would like to give the floor to the three state parties, but before doing so, we will start with Her Excellency Ms. Omirova from Uzbekistan. Please stay to the strict 2 minutes that we allocated for each state member.
Dear Chair, distinguished members of the World Heritage Committee, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to start by thanking the government of Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for excellent organization of the 45th century of the World Heritage Committee of the city of Riyadh. I'm honored to speak on behalf of the government of Uzbekistan as we celebrate today a truly historical milestone for Central Asian countries. It is an exceptional occasion, especially for Uzbekistan. The inscription of the Silk Road Zarafshan-Karakum corridor marks more than 20 years since the last cultural element of Uzbekistan was included in the World Heritage List. I would like to express my sincere appreciation to all stakeholders who made this contribution in promotion of its important initiative. We thank the International Institutes for Central Asian Studies and the director Dmitry Vayakin, as well as the esteemed colleagues from Tajikistan and Turkmenistan for their invaluable cooperation to prepare the nomination. I also express my gratitude to the World Heritage Center and its advisory bodies for the diligent work and impartial evaluation of the dossier. The decision adopted by the committee is a crucial step towards recognition of unique historical and cultural value of 31 monuments, 15 of which located in Uzbekistan. Throughout the millennium, these cities have been served as the main connecting networks that facilitated the exchange of diverse cultural languages, ideas, and goods between the East and the West. From the start point, as equally significant, not only the people of the region, but also humanity. During the last years of Uzbekistan, has intensively efforts and safeguard to promote its rich cultural heritage, which is fully in line with our commitment under the 1972 Convention. In close collaboration with other participating states, we will take all the necessary collective measurements to implement the advices and recommendations outlined in this decision. In this, we also rely on support of UNESCO, World Heritage Center, and its advisory bodies to carefully transmit this outstanding heritage to the generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tajikistan, you have the floor.
Shukran Saidi Rais, distinguished committee members, excellencies. I'm honored to take the floor. Taking this opportunity, I would like to thank the government of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for generosity in holding this session. As we all know, the main purpose of inscription of historical sites in UNESCO World Heritage List is the preservation and study of those sites that are important for the world history of humanity. And today's event is a vivid example of this. Today, our friendly countries, along with promoting constructive initiatives in the political, economic, humanitarian, and educational fields, present a joint worthy history and culture to the world community. In this regard, it's gratifying to note that at this session, the joint nomination of Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, and Turkmenistan, Silk Road, Zarafshan-Karakum corridor, which clearly demonstrates the centuries-old, strong, fraternal relations between countries of Central Asia is inscribed in UNESCO World Heritage List. Thanks to close cooperation with the representative of Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan, today we have achieved significant and desired achievement. In conclusion, on behalf of the government of Tajikistan, I express our gratitude and appreciation to the evaluation body of committee for inscription of our joint nomination. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Turkmenistan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Distinguished Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, at first, taking this opportunity, I would like to express my gratitude to the government of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for the hospitality and successful holding of this session at a high level. Today, the Great Silk Road, where Turkmenistan has historically played a significant role, is viewed as a unique historical and cultural phenomenon, given the substantial influence this ancient caravan road has had on the international trade networks, economies, and cultures of several countries in Asia and Europe. Today, our friendly nation, together with our brotherly counterparts, Tajikistan and Uzbekistan, presents the important legacy of the Great Silk Road to the global stage through our joint nomination, Silk Road's Zarafshan-Karakum corridor. This initiative not only continues the ancient traditions of the road, but also underscores the long-standing friendly relations between the countries of Central Asia. Thanks to the strengthened collaboration between Turkmenistan, Tajikistan, and Uzbekistan, we have achieved significant milestones, and on behalf of the government of Turkmenistan, I express our deep gratitude to the evaluation body of the UNESCO World Heritage Committee for including our joint nomination in the World Heritage List. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, and congratulations again. I now invite IUCN to present the significant boundary modification and renomination of the Hyrcanian Forests, Azerbaijan, and Islamic Republic of Iran. But before I give the floor to the Secretariat, Mr. Balsamo, you may have the floor.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. For the evaluation of this nomination, we received a factual error notification, which is on page 3 of both the English and French version of document INF 8B4. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. IUCN's evaluation of the Hyrcanian forest can be found on the pages indicated on the slide. IUCN recommends the committee to approve as an extension of the Hyrcanian Forest World Heritage Property the addition of Dangyabang and Istitsukhai Valley in Azerbaijan under Criterion 9. Next slide, please. In 2019, the committee inscribed the Hyrcanian Forest in the Islamic Republic of Iran as a serial site of 15 component parts under Criterion 9. The present nomination consists of 5 nominated component parts, including 3 located in Azerbaijan, whilst 2 are located in the Islamic Republic of Iran. Besides the extension proposal, the existing site is renominated to include Criterion 10. Overall, this extension nomination covers an area of more than 31,000 hectares with a buffer zone of more than 117,000 hectares. Next slide, please. Regarding Criterion 9, the IUCN World Heritage Panel noted the importance of the nominated component parts of Dangyabang, Khan-Bolan, and Istitsukhai Valley in Azerbaijan, which contain highly valuable ancient forests belonging to the same arc of Hyrcanian forests straddling along the Caspian Sea. The oldest trees count 300 to 400 years, with some possibly up to 500 years. The 3 nominated component parts complement the 15 inscribed component parts in the Islamic Republic of Iran and represent the northernmost extension of the Hyrcanian forests. IUCN considers that the nominated component parts of Disma West and Disma East are not substantially linked to the existing series and are thus not recommended for consideration in this series. However, IUCN also noted similarities between the Disma Forest and the adjacent, previously nominated and subsequently deferred Arasbaran protected area. In this respect, IUCN welcomes the in-depth scientific dialogue established with the State Party of the Islamic Republic of Iran through the exchange recorded in the factual error letter. IUCN stands ready for further consultations on future options for the protection of both component parts and the Arasbaran protected area. Next slide, please. Regarding Criterion 10, IUCN notes Committee Decision 43-8B4, through which the committee inscribed the first 15 component parts in the Islamic Republic of Iran, whilst taking note of the potential for this property to also meet Criterion 10. This decision recommended further analysis of species inventories to confirm species composition and population conservation status to ascertain the relevant values are sufficient to meet Criterion 10. However, IUCN noted that this information remains limited to this day, as also acknowledged in supplementary information provided by the states parties for the present nomination file. Additional evidence, especially more detailed spatial distribution and population status data, is needed to reassess the nominated property under Criterion 10. Next slide, please. In terms of protection and management, all nominated component parts benefit from a rigorous protection and management regime. Their boundaries are commensurate with the respective protected areas. Only the boundaries of the nominated component part of Khan-Bolan in Azerbaijan would require alignment to fully correspond with the boundaries of the central and strictly protected part of Hyrcan National Park. IUCN appreciates the dialogue, including dialogue during the present session with Azerbaijan, on the best way forward for the Khan-Bolan component part. Next slide, please. Mr. Chair, the draft decision can be found in document 8B as shown on the slide and contains IUCN's recommendation to approve the significant boundary modification of the Hyrcanian forest through the addition of Dangyabang, Istitsukhai Valley, based on Criterion 9. This would create a transboundary World Heritage property with 15 component parts in the Islamic Republic of Iran and 2 component parts in Azerbaijan. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. And as this property is recommended for inscription, I therefore suggest that we move to the adoption of the draft decision. And if there are no objections, do we have? Then I therefore declare draft decision 45-8B.5 adopted. Congratulations to the state parties of Azerbaijan and Iran on behalf of the entire committee. Azerbaijan, you may have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, distinguished committee members, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, I would like to sincerely thank the committee members for the adopted decision. I also would like to thank the Secretariat and IUCN for its evaluation of the file. This is a historic moment for Azerbaijan, as Hirkan Forest is the first natural site inscribed on the UNESCO World Heritage List. This remarkable natural wonder, known for its exceptional biodiversity, ancient origins, and cultural significance, has rightfully earned its place among the world's most cherished sites. The Hirkanian forest, a living testament to the resilience and beauty of our planet's ecosystems, now stands as a beacon of a hope and conservation for future generations. Its inclusion signifies our commitment to safeguarding the rich biodiversity of life it hosts, from its endemic species to the delicate balance of its ecosystems. This achievement is a testament to the collaborative efforts of nations, conservationists, local communities, and supporters worldwide who recognize the urgent need to protect this unique treasure. We are united in our commitment to preserving the Hirkan forest, not just for the present, but the countless generations that will come to cherish and benefit from its natural wonders. As we celebrate this momentous occasion, let us remember that the responsibility to safeguard this forest does not end here. It is an ongoing commitment, a promise to future generations to nurture and protect this invaluable ecosystem, ensuring that it thrives for millennia to come. The inclusion of Hirkan Forest on the UNESCO World Heritage List is a testament to our shared dedication to preserving the wonders of our natural world. Let us continue to work together in the spirit of global cooperation to protect and cherish this magnificent forest and all the world's natural and cultural treasures. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Iran, you may have the floor. Iran, if you would like to take the floor.
No, thank you. We don't want to take floor.
Thank you so much. So now I invite ICOMOS to present to the nomination of Jado Cultural Landscape, Ethiopia. But before I give the floor to the Secretariat, Mr. Balsamo, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairperson. Concerning the evaluation of the Gedo cultural landscape, we received a factual error notification, which is on page 49 of both the English and French version of document INF 8B4. Thank you.
Thank you very much. ICOMOS.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is the presentation of the ICOMOS evaluation of the Gedo cultural landscape, Ethiopia. The ICOMOS report can be found in document INF.8B1 on page 21 of the English version and page 21 of the French version. On this evaluation, ICOMOS has received a letter on factual errors and has acknowledged some of these errors. Next slide, please. Located on the steep escarpment of the Ethiopian highlands, the Gedo cultural landscape is an area of agroforestry characterized by multi-layered cultivation with large trees sheltering indigenous inset, the main food crop, under which grow coffee, the main cash crop, and other shrubs. The area is densely populated by members of the Gedo people, whose traditional knowledge underpins the forest regimes. Within the cultivated mountain slopes are small areas of sacred forest traditionally used by local communities for rituals associated with the Gedo religion. Along the mountain ridge are found dense clusters of megalithic monuments which came to be revered by the Gedo and cared for by their elders. The comparative analysis has demonstrated that the Gedo cultural landscape is an exceptional testimony to a long-standing and still living indigenous cultural tradition of agroforestry, with its layered cultivation of mature trees, providing shelters for inset, coffee, and other food crops. This symbiotic system is underpinned by traditional knowledge systems of the Gedo community and has the capacity to sustain livelihoods while ensuring environmental sustainability.
It not only supports the highest density of population in Africa, it also maintains harmony with species, a rich biodiversity, and produces high-quality organic coffee. Both proposed criteria 3 and 5 have been justified. Next slide. The property covers about 300 square kilometers and encompasses the traditional agroforestry system, coffee and food crops cultivated areas, clusters of megalithic steles, widespread also beyond the boundary of the nominated property, prehistoric rock art sites, and several hundred settlements. Whilst integrity and authenticity have been demonstrated, they are highly vulnerable, as acknowledged by the nomination dossier, due to fast-changing demographic, economic, and landscape management issues. The boundaries are adequate, but may need minor adjustments, whilst the addition of a buffer zone to protect the immediate setting needs to be considered. Next slide. Legal protection measures put in place at the federal, and particularly the specific proclamation 189 issued in 2021 at the state level, provide a good basis for management. ICOMOS commends the state party for defining legal and management structures and for emphasis put on the traditional structures and processes. However, sufficient measures to address the severe challenges facing the nominated property to halt the highly negative trends are not in place yet. The state of conservation of the property is extremely fragile and under threat due to an alarming rate of population increase, intense cultivation extending to unstable slopes, fast reduction of the agroforestry system. As stated in the nomination dossier, the land versus population imbalance is the major threat for the integrity and the OUV of the cultural landscape, which is reaching beyond its carrying capacity and will lead to degradation if conservation and livelihood measures will not take place. Next slides, please. Here is a summary of the ICOMOS evaluation of the proposed outstanding universal value of the nominated property. Given the vulnerability and fragility of the nominated property, a sustainable land use plan is key to achieve a balance between the many competing needs, such as protecting traditional practices, improving prices for the high-quality organic coffee, raising the overall standards of living of communities. ICOMOS welcomes the commitment by the state party to produce such a plan and notes that work on its development has started. The time frame for its completion, 6 months, appear very tight in relation to the scope of the project, the level of the detail required to obtain the support of the agroforestry communities and to devise specific measures for addressing the dangers that the property now faces. Next slide, please. Despite the progress being made, including throughout the evaluation process, ICOM considers that the property is faced with specific and proven imminent dangers, which could lead to significant loss of historical authenticity and of cultural significance. The major threats that the property is facing could be considered as certain dangers in accordance with paragraph 179 of the operational guidelines for the implementation of the World Heritage Convention. Inscription alone, in ICOMOS' view, is insufficient to address these dangers. Accordingly, ICOMOS recommends that the Gideon cultural landscape should be inscribed on the World Heritage list under criteria 3 and 5, and simultaneously be inscribed on the list of World Heritage Endangers. In this way, sufficient time can be given to prepare a sustainable land use plan that can deliver the specific needed corrective measures for the property. The inscription on the World Heritage List in danger is an opportunity to gain the attention and support of the international community for the protection and the conservation of the property and its remarkable agroforestry system. ICOMOS also recommends that a reactive monitoring mission be invited to the property to establish a desired state of conservation and the program of correcting measures in accordance with the state party to remove the property from the list of World Heritage in danger. Next slide, please. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, ICOMOS. I would like to see if there are any comments from the floor regarding this inscription, this nomination. دولة قطر.
Mr. Chair, the State of Qatar requests the decision of the draft decision amendment concerning the Gadiyo landscape. Qatar appreciates all the efforts deployed by the Secretariat and the evaluation carried out by the advisory body toward the inscription of Gadiyo cultural landscape. Qatar requesting an amendment on paragraph 4, 5, and 7 of the draft decision. In paragraph 4, where to inscribe the site in list of the World Heritage in danger, the draft decision from the evaluation report of ICOMOS and IUCN listed 3 issues. First, population pressure which has exceeded limits, thus threatening the cultural property. Second, dramatic generation gap and the abandon of traditional ways of life by the young people. Third, a shift in value system changes in the economic engagement. It is known Gadiyo is one of the most densely populated administrative zones in Ethiopia. The nomination dossier by the state party honestly indicated this fact as a potential factor affecting property. However, not an imminent threat. Population growth density is not a recent new phenomena to the Gadiyo zone. Also, the file highlighting the ritual tradition contribute a lot to the balance of the nature and society. Secondly, legalization at a federal, regional, and local level are formulated to ensure the protection of the property. Further to the legal provision, the social norms and tradition of the Gadiyo people play a key role in the protection of the cultural landscape. The majority of Gadiyo population still continue their traditional way of life. Traditional socio-economic institutions are still practiced. The state party would like also to raise a procedure issue regarding paragraph 4 of the draft decision based on the provision of the operational guideline for the implementation of the World Heritage Convention. According to Chapter 6b, Article 177, paragraph of the operational guidelines, for a cultural property to be inscribed in the list of World Heritage in danger first, the property under the consideration is in the World Heritage list. In this particular case, the nominated property, the Gadiyo cultural landscape, is not yet inscribed in the World Heritage list. In the same chapter, Article 179, sub-article A and B, a nominated property is neither under a certain nor a potential danger. And as stated, the nomination dossier, population pressure and growth of cultivation in particular does not present any threat, rather future threats. Paragraph 5 recommended that the state party invite a reactive monitoring mission to the property. The state party requests this paragraph to be deleted. This simply that once of the nominated property is not included in the list of the World Heritage in danger, there is no need for the inviting a reactive monitoring mission. Paragraph 7 requests the state parties to submit the World Heritage Center by 1st February 2024. The justification of this amendment is that once paragraph 4 and 5 amended, the state party will have to submit report. However, the due date in the draft decision is really short. So thank you. We are in support. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
شكرا جزيلا قطر. رواندا.
Thank you very much, Chair. The site presented by the state party is an agroforestry system based on an ingenious knowledge system deserving to be in the World Heritage list. Chair, we have been informed by the state party that most of the issues that are considered as a threat to the nominated property have already been addressed and a few are underway. Therefore, the Rwandan delegation is of the view that paragraph 4 of the draft decision, which suggests to inscribe the nominated property in the list of World Heritage in danger, is premature. A management plan involving all stakeholders, particularly acknowledging and empowering the traditional institutions which have a key role in the protection of a property, is put in action. Legal frameworks to protect cultural heritage, including the nominated property, ranging from federal to local level, are operational long before the property under debate is inscribed in the tentative list. A community-based monitoring system is already existing, and the only thing needed is support from regional and federal government is underway. Chair, recently, incentives for farmers who grow a high-quality organic coffee have commenced, namely directly linking the farmers with the international market and provision of agriculture inputs. The cultivation of crops new to the traditional agroforestry system and planting of trees aligned to ecosystem or property is prohibited. Based on these and other efforts which the state party is undertaking, Rwanda supports the amendment submitted by Qatar. Shukran Jazira, Said Rais.
شكرا جزيلا. الاتحاد الروسي, Russian Federation.
Спасибо, уважаемый господин председатель. Российские эксперты внимательно ознакомились с номинационным досье, заключением консультативных органов и дополнительными материалами, представленными стороной-участницей, и пришли к выводу, что этот объект уникален и, безусловно, имеет потенциал выдающейся универсальной ценности. Одним из главных атрибутов культурного ландшафта является уникальная система землепользования, основанная на знаниях коренного народа Гедео. Система агролесоводства Гедео не только традиционно сложившаяся структура устойчивого использования земель, но одновременно и природоохранная система, позволяющая сохранить окружающую среду в ее первозданном виде. Другим атрибутом культурного ландшафта являются священные рощи, имеющие духовное и культурное значение для местных сообществ и также выступающие в роли сохранения биоразнообразия флоры и фауны региона. На территории номинируемого объекта активно практикуется традиционная система управления в лице Совета старейшин Балли и Сонда. Этот способ управления объектом не только помог сохранить хрупкий баланс взаимодействия природы и человека, но и по сей день поддерживает систему агролесоводства, обеспечивает защиту священных рощ и сохранение мегалитических сооружений времен неолита. Мы поддерживаем рекомендации КАМОС о включении объекта культурный ландшафт Гедео в список всемирного наследия. Однако считаем, что на данном этапе нет необходимости включать его также в список всемирного наследия, находящегося под угрозой. Полагаем, что до 2026 года деятельность в рамках плана устойчивого землепользования минимизирует влияние негативных факторов на объект. Более того, наличие статуса объекта всемирного наследия также в определенной мере поможет увеличить уровень сохранности объекта. Полагаем, что в плане устойчивого землепользования, который будет разработан и реализован в 2026 году, будут учтены все негативные факторы и определены необходимые действия и меры как в краткосрочной, так и в среднесрочной и долгосрочной перспективе. В соответствии с планом в кратчайшие сроки будут осуществлены все необходимые изменения и преобразования. Реализация плана устойчивого землепользования и принятие конкретных корректирующих мер обеспечит дальнейшее развитие объекта таким образом, чтобы сохранить его выдающуюся универсальную ценность. По этим причинам мы стали соавтором поправок, предложенных Катаром. Спасибо.
شكرا جزيلا. إيطاليا.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As already highlighted by the advisory body, the Gideo cultural landscape is an exceptional testimony to a long-standing and still living indigenous Gideo cultural tradition of agroforestry. It links culture and nature in an extremely positive, sustainable manner, and this is the main reason why it is nominated to be in the World Heritage List. The site, however, is affording some challenges and shows some fragilities. The main threats seem to be the growth of population that might affect the traditional agroforestry system. But the growth of population in itself does not represent a real threat. At the same time, the state party is aware of these fragilities and it is committed in addressing such threats. Having said that, we consider the recommendation of description of denominated property in the World Heritage List in danger not sufficiently demonstrated. Moreover, the state party's strong efforts to ensure the protection of the nominated property should be commended, and the sufficient time to implement the recommendation in the draft decision be assured. Therefore, Italy supports the amendment proposed by Qatar. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Belgium?
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone. The Gideo natural cultural landscape is an exceptional testimony to the long-standing and still living indigenous Gideo way of life. It is a combination of culture and nature, underpinned by the traditional knowledge systems of the Gideo people in an area with one of the highest population densities in rural Africa. This is a remarkable nomination that deserves to be inscribed on the World Heritage List. This is not just our opinion, it is also the opinion of the advisory body, whom we would like to thank for the high quality of its work, not just in this particular case, but also in general. We therefore need to draw also attention to some concerns expressed by ICOMOS. The state of conservation to the attributes is fragile, and there are a number of factors at play that are not easy to address. We encourage the State Party of Ethiopia to take these recommendations regarding the threats the property is facing into consideration. We trust that upon request from the State Party, the Secretariat and ICOMOS will also be available to assist where needed in that regard. Considering the complexity of the situation, we conclude it makes little sense to report back next year already, which is in less than 6 months. And we agree that more time needs to be allocated, as foreseen in the amendment, proposing to inscribe the Gideo cultural landscape on the World Heritage List. We therefore also like to co-author the amendment introduced by the delegation of Qatar. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Japan?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. This is a wonderful property with clear OUV, and we fully support the inscription as recommended by the evaluation bodies. Now, we have another recommendation from the evaluation bodies for the immediate inscription in the list of the World Heritage in danger. In this particular case, the State Party understands the issues pointed by the evaluation body and has shown willingness and commitment to deal with those issues in addition to the efforts already made. State Party of Ethiopia needs more time to address those challenges, and therefore we support the amendments proposed by Qatar. We look forward to hearing good reports by the State Party of Ethiopia in 2026. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mali?
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Nous souhaitons tout d'abord rappeler que le paysage culturel du pays GDO, s'étendant sur les contreforts orientaux des hauts plateaux éthiopiens, est le foyer d'un peu plus de 250 000 GDO. Il s'agit d'un site qui reflète un témoignage unique, exceptionnel, sur des traditions culturelles et une civilisation humaine riche qui nous enseigne à maints égards. En effet, depuis des siècles, voire des millénaires, les pratiques traditionnelles d'agroforesterie impliquant l'ancêtre et plus récemment le café, associé à une diversité d'arbres et d'arbustes, ainsi qu'à d'autres cultures vivrières, ont permis aux communautés d'y vivre durablement sur la base des savoirs et des systèmes de croyances traditionnels qui, jusqu'à récemment, incorporaient des groupes de mégaphytes comme sites rituels. De même, le système autochtone du Bali, des GDO, associe des lois coutumières, les règles et réglementations, les normes et les codes sociaux afin de gérer l'interaction avec la nature. Ainsi, non seulement le paysage qui en résulte nourrit la plus forte densité de population en Afrique, mais il entretient de surcroît une harmonie avec les espèces et la richesse de la biodiversité et produit du café biologique de haute qualité. L'intégrité et l'authenticité du site sont donc démontrées et évaluées. Au vu de ce qui précède, nous soutenons l'approbation de cette décision afin d'inscrire le paysage culturel du pays GDO sur la liste du patrimoine mondial de l'UNESCO. Nous encourageons l'État partie à continuer son travail de conservation. Nous invitons le comité à attendre les résultats des rapports sur la mise en œuvre des recommandations des organes d'évaluation, notamment sur les actions de conservation, pour envisager de statuer sur l'opportunité de l'inscription ou non sur la liste du patrimoine mondial en péril. Cela devrait pouvoir se faire dans un délai raisonnable qui permettra à l'Éthiopie de présenter un rapport complet et solide. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much. Sultanate Oman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Oman acknowledges considerable efforts being made by the Ethiopian authorities in the preparation of this nomination dossier. Oman also recognizes the importance of the nomination of the geocultural landscape. So this nomination property has the potential to justify the outstanding universal value under criteria 3 and 5. And the identification of its potential attributes is satisfactory. Having seen the related documents, it's clear that the site is an exceptional testimony to the long-standing and still living indigenous geocultural tradition of agroforestry. It is also an outstanding example of how communities over time have devised systems to optimizing the constraints and opportunities of their natural environment. We acknowledge all efforts that have been made by the state party to ensure the protection of the outstanding universal value of the property, as well as its proper management. Taking this commitment and efforts from the state party into account, Oman recommends that the nomination of the geocultural landscape to be inscribed in the World Heritage List, but not in the World Heritage List in danger. Therefore, we support the amended draft decision proposed by Qatar. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Shukran jazilan. Thailand.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. My delegation appreciates the work and recommendation by ICOMOS and also wishes to commend the State Party of Ethiopia on the commitment in addressing issues raised by the advisory body. We welcome ICOMOS' recommendation to inscribe the Gideo cultural landscape to the list of World Heritage Sites. My delegation believes that the inscription would encourage and help intensify the efforts of the State Party on progressing the Sustainable Land Use Plan, as well as strengthening management plan and monitoring system. Thailand also welcomes the close engagement between the State Party and the advisory body that started during the evaluation process and encourages the State Party to continue further consultations to ensure that remaining concerns and challenges are tackled and the conservation of the site is duly strengthened. In this regard, upon studying the documents, we have learned that the State Party has demonstrated their commitment to implement the ICOMOS recommendations and that some positive progress is being made. My delegation deems appropriate to allow the State Party more time to continue their work, and an assessment should be made at a later stage. Any conclusion to put the property in the list of World Heritage in danger should not be drawn yet. Moreover, my delegation would also like to recall again that Africa has more than its fair share of the World Heritage sites inscribed on the list of World Heritage in danger. Mr. Chairperson, therefore, my delegation would like to echo other committee members in supporting the draft amendment put forward by Qatar. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Jumhuriyat Masr.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Egypt welcomes the inscription of the Gideo cultural landscape on the World Heritage List, based on criteria 3 and 5. Egypt doesn't believe that the inscription should be made on the endangered list. The decision to inscribe a site as endangered should adhere to the principles set forth in the 1972 Convention and its operational guidelines. These guidelines stipulate that the inscription on the endangered list should only occur when the site genuinely faces challenges that threaten its outstanding universal value. In this case of the Gideo cultural landscape, such challenges are not apparent. Furthermore, we would like to emphasize the importance of encouraging and promoting the inscription of more African sites on the World Heritage List. Africa is a continent rich in its cultural and natural heritage, with a multitude of unique and exceptional sites that deserve international recognition and protection. By celebrating and preserving the heritage of African nations, we contribute to more comprehensive representation of our global cultural and natural diversity. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
شكرا جزيلا. Argentina.
Muchas gracias, señor presidente. Bueno, agradecemos al ICOMOS por la presentación de su informe relativo al sitio del paisaje cultural Gedeo, así como a la Secretaría por el proyecto de decisión respectivo. Al respecto, coincidimos con los argumentos presentados de la declaración de valor excepcional que fundamentan la inscripción del bien en la lista de Patrimonio Mundial. Respecto a la posibilidad de inscribir el sitio a sí mismo en la lista de Patrimonio en Peligro, tenemos entendido que Etiopía se encuentra desarrollando un plan a nivel de gobierno regional y las comunidades locales. Por lo tanto, quisiéramos entonces pedir al Estado parte si nos pudiera informar acerca de los avances de ese plan de gestión. Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you very much. South Africa.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. South Africa would like to commend the State Party of Ethiopia for putting forward such an incredible nomination file, which strikes a balance between environmental conservation, culture, and subsistence farming that sustain livelihoods of a growing rural population pressure. After examining the ICOMOS evaluation report, we note that ICOMOS has indeed confirmed that this site has fulfilled all the requirements for listing on the UNESCO World Heritage List. While ICOMOS recommends that this site be inscribed on the World Heritage List, it also recommends inscription on the list of World Heritage in danger. Mr. Chair, the delegation of South Africa understands that when ICOMOS visited the site, it was to evaluate its credibility for consideration for inscription on the World Heritage List, and not to conduct a monitoring mission as their report suggests. Chairperson would like to remind the committee of paragraph 177A, which states that a property may be inscribed on the World Heritage List in danger if the property under consideration is on the World Heritage List. This is not the case. Whilst precedents may have been set in the past to inscribe sites on the World Heritage List and immediately after in the list of World Heritage in danger with the concurrence with the State Party, in this instance, the State Party of Ethiopia has not concurred with this recommendation. South Africa, therefore, concurs with the State Party of Ethiopia as putting it on the World Heritage on the sites in danger will just add a number for the Africa region, which is already overrepresented in the World Heritage List in danger, contributing to about 47% of all the sites on the list. Although ICOMOS considers the inscription on the World Heritage List in danger as an opportunity to gather international support, the inscription of this site on the list in danger will have a detrimental impact in that it will demotivate the communities of Gedeo who have put much effort to ensure the conservation and management of this site. Chair, South Africa strongly believes that the delegation of Ethiopia should be afforded sufficient time to address through the State of Conservation report the recommendations made by ICOMOS in consultation with the World Heritage Center, particularly with regards to continuing to progress the sustainable land use option. The State Party of Ethiopia has reassured the delegation of South Africa that they have so far formulated a strategy to regulate land use within the property. For this reason, Mr. Chair, this delegation of South Africa would like to support the amendment put forward by the delegation of Qatar to delete paragraph 4 and 6 of the draft decision and allow the State Party to report for examination by the World Heritage Committee at its 48th session. I thank you.
Thank you very much. India.
Excellency, thank you for giving India the floor. Since this property is already listed for inscription, we will keep our intervention very short. India would like to co-author the amendments being presented by Qatar and supported by Japan, Belgium, Italy, Mali, Oman, Thailand, Egypt, and others. Thank you, Excellency.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Bulgaria.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. We have carefully reviewed all relevant documents, and our delegation would like to thank the advisory body and the State Party for the detailed information contained in them. We are convinced that the legal protection is fully guaranteed as the status and protection of traditionally used land by the local communities is enshrined in the Ethiopian constitution. We commend the state party for the elaboration of a management plan with the full engagement of local communities, authorities, and based on agroforestry expertise. We are convinced that the state party is aware of the challenges that face the management of the property and has demonstrated its willingness to address them in a sustainable way. We are of the view that the need of this property to be included in the list of danger has not been demonstrated. In this regard, Bulgaria supports the amendment proposed by Qatar. Thank you, Mr. Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Zambia.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The state part of Zambia considers a Gideon cultural landscape as a site which has met criteria 3 and 5, and this has been confirmed by the advisory body. As for the need of the buffer zone, we are of the view that the land coverage or the area covered by this cultural landscape is adequate for it to sustain the protection of the outstanding universal value. In addition, there is also an existing traditional management system which is adequate to deal with issues of population pressure. The issue of carrying capacity should not arise, considering that this is a cultural landscape, and a cultural landscape is supposed to be dynamic. And here you have an interaction between the natural environment and human beings. We should not be seen to be freezing people's lives, as if we are to do so, it is tantamount to labeling the, this is tantamount to making the label of UNESCO negative. The concept of carrying capacity does not literally arise in a cultural landscape, because this is more or less a scientific, that is a measure which works well in that is a strictly protected area, rather a strict protected area. The reactive monitoring measures considered to be premature, considering whatsoever has been submitted on the floor. We also consider that having seen that the state part of Ethiopia has taken a lot of measures to addressing the issues which are being raised by the advisory body, including the fact that you have the provision in the national constitution which looks at issues of land use. We feel that this aspect of trying to push the site on a list of endangered as something which is retrogressive. To that effect, Mr. Chairman, as the state part of Zambia, we would like to propose and rather join the rest of the world in congratulating the state part of Ethiopia for having done a good job in making sure that the site has values which are also appreciated for inscription, and therefore would like to request that the issue of putting the site on the list of endangered to be dropped. I submit, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. St. Vincent and Grenadines.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. After examining the ICOMOS report on the Gedeo cultural landscape of Ethiopia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines considers that the inscription of this site on the World Heritage List on the basis of criteria 3 and 5 is well justified. However, we consider that the inscription on the list in danger is too premature, and we should give the state party the opportunity and enough time to implement the recommendations requested. And we are confident that the state party will implement the management plan, thus protecting its the OUV of the site. That's why, Mr. Chair, St. Vincent and the Grenadines support the amendments presented by Qatar. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Greece.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Greece has thoroughly examined the nomination file and strongly supports the inscription of this property on the World Heritage List, considering that it will contribute significantly to the protection of this exceptional cultural and natural heritage of Ethiopia. Furthermore, Gedeo cultural landscape, standing out as a unique testimony of agroforestry knowledge and adaptation in Africa, will contribute to a more balanced and more representative World Heritage List. This inscription would provide the necessary tools and methods to address all threats and dangers, as noted by the advisory body, as well as offering opportunities to gain attention and support of the international community for the protection of this property. Therefore, taking into consideration all the above, and in the spirit of UNESCO Priority Africa, we fully support this nomination, as well as the amendment proposed by Qatar, since we also believe that the state party needs sufficient time before even considering an eventual inscription on the World Heritage List in danger. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. المملكة العربية السعودية.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. نظرا للجهود التي تقوم بها الدولة الطرف في حماية الموقع، نرى أن تعطى الفرصة ونؤيد التعديل التي قدمته دولة قطر. شكرا.
شكرا جزيلا. مكسيك.
Muchas gracias, señor presidente. En el contexto actual de la gran crisis climática que padecemos, con índices tan elevados de perturbaciones tales como incendios forestales o lluvias torrenciales reclamando una acción humana al respecto, el paisaje productivo y su mosaico agroforestal es donde radica nuestra oportunidad de cambio. En un mundo donde la globalización ha exterminado tantos paisajes, la intervención basada en la conservación de la identidad, de la memoria y el código genético que determina una región es imprescindible. Gracias a estos paisajes productivos, por la belleza que nos ofrecen, por su abanico de soluciones, por su ingenio, por permanecer en el tiempo, por su respeto por el territorio, que nos encontramos todavía hoy vinculados, es que nos encontramos hoy todavía vinculados con la Madre Tierra. México considera correcta la propuesta del ICOMOS para inscribir el sitio en la lista del Patrimonio Mundial en peligro por su fragilidad para conservarlo. Sin embargo, el Estado parte presenta argumentos sobre los esfuerzos que realizan para revertir este peligro. La inscripción del paisaje cultural del Gedeo enriquece indiscutiblemente el equilibrio y la credibilidad de la lista del Patrimonio Mundial, por lo que acompañamos la enmienda propuesta por Qatar.
Thank you very much. Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. After examining the recommendations of the advisory body for inscription, Nigeria appreciates that, but the further recommendation for inscription into lists of in danger, we feel that is premature, and the state party of Ethiopia needs more time to work on the recommendations, and therefore Nigeria wants to support the recommendation made by Qatar. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mexico, the mic. Now I would like to pass the floor to the delegation of Ethiopia to respond to the question addressed by the delegation of Argentina. You may have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson, for giving the State Party the opportunity to respond to questions and issues of concern raised by the advisory bodies and the distinguished delegation of Argentina. It's a fact that Gedio is one of the most densely populated locations in Ethiopia and Africa. Population growth is not a recent phenomenon to Gedio. It is populated as densely as almost today for the past century and a half. The cultivation and use of insect as a staple food and the multi-layered agroforestry are partly an adaptation to the growth of population. As indicated in the nomination dossier, population growth is a potential factor affecting the property, not an imminent threat. It is a ritual among the Gedios that every time a baby is born in a family, 4 tree seedlings are planted as a token of celebration. When a person dies, 2 seedlings of an indigenous tree are planted close to the tomb in memory of the deceased person. Trees in forests cannot be cut without the permission of Songo elders. These rituals and traditions contribute a lot to the balance of nature and society. Concerning land use management, recently the Gedio Zone Administration has formulated a rule to regulate land use in the nominated property. A management plan involving local communities, administrators, elders, women, and youth representatives is prepared and implemented. The overwhelming majority of the Gedio still continue traditional way of life. Traditional socio-economic institutions are still practiced. There is no change deviating from local knowledge, belief, norms, and environmental ethics of the Gedio people. The State Party is working with all stakeholders to increase the capacity of the local community to protect the cultural landscape. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I see no more. Argentina?
Agradecemos a Etiopía las explicaciones brindadas y tan fundamentadas, y en ese sentido nos complace apoyar el proyecto de enmienda presentada. Muchísimas gracias por sus explicaciones.
Thank you very much, Argentina. So now I see no more interventions, and therefore I invite you, dear colleagues, to adopt the draft decision 45-8B.6. But before doing so, I would like to ask the rapporteur if she has received any amendment on the draft decision proposed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have received one amendment from the distinguished delegation of Qatar, which is co-authored by the distinguished delegations of Oman, Egypt, Thailand, Bulgaria, and Belgium, and further support from the floor from the delegations of Rwanda, Russian Federation, Italy, Japan, Mali, South Africa, India, Zambia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Greece, Saudi Arabia, Mexico, Nigeria, and Argentina. The amendments, as already explained by the distinguished delegation of Qatar, are to delete para 4 and 5 and to revise the original para 7, which becomes now the para 5, to change the dates to 2026 and submission at the 47th session, at the 48th session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like to pass the floor to ICOMOS to point out a technical issue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. ICOMOS would like to recognize and acknowledge the dialogue and the progress that has been made by the State Party throughout the evaluation process. This is important for us to reiterate. And in light of this, ICOMOS would like to put on the table for the consideration of the distinguished members of the committee whether a progress report in between the inscription and the date for the official submission of the state of conservation to the committee might be considered as a form of dialogue in between with the center and the advisory bodies, only to continue this accompaniment and work that has been done so far throughout the evaluation process. So ICOMOS would like to suggest that the committee might consider to add that the progress report is submitted to the center for consideration by the advisory body in an intermediate date that might be December 2024, which allows the state party to continue to work and maybe to engage in dialogue and cooperation with the advisory bodies in order to reach the submission of the statement of the state of conservation report in 2026, really with mutual understanding on how they are progressing. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. So, dear colleagues, I invite you to examine the draft decision, paragraph by paragraph. So from paragraph 1 and 2 and 3, we don't have any amendments. Do we agree to adopt them as they are? I see no objections. Adopted. Paragraph 4, we have proposal. Do we agree to the proposed text? I see no objections. Adopted as amended. Paragraph 5. So we have proposed text. Do we agree to the proposed paragraph? I see no objections. Adopted as amended. Paragraph 6, I would like to ask the rapporteur to demonstrate the update.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There is a slight correction in the dates by the Secretariat. Since it's not World Heritage in danger, the date would be 1st December, and the year would be 2025 for it to be presented in the 48th session. So it reads as requests the state party to submit to the World Heritage Center by 1 December 2025 a report on the implementation of the above mentioned recommendations for examination by the World Heritage Committee at its 48th session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, dear colleagues, do we agree with this proposed text? So I see no objections. Then adopted as amended. Dear colleagues, I'd like to ask you to adopt the draft decision as a whole. And if there are no objections, therefore, declare draft decision 45 8B.6 adopted as amended. Congratulations to the State Party of Ethiopia. You have the floor for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. I would like to express my gratitude to you, Mr. Chairperson, and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for the exceptional organization of the World Heritage Committee meeting and the warm reception extended to the Ethiopian delegation. 4 years ago, in 2019, His Excellency Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed launched the visionary National Green Legacy Initiative of planting 20 billion seedlings over 4 years to combat climate change and uphold traditional practices of sustainable living. Just 2 months ago, the fourth national campaign was inaugurated in Gedio, which is known for its age-old practices of environmental conservation. We're honored today that the committee has chosen to inscribe Gedio as a World Heritage Site. With its breathtaking landscapes, Gedio has been instrumental in the development of sustainable agricultural practices and unique land management systems. These efforts have contributed to the preservation of an exceptional ecosystem and remarkable biodiversity. A harmonious relationship between society and nature flourishes here. The people of Gedio not only respect, but also protect nature as a fundamental part of their lives. In contrast to the typical scenario where population growth leads to environmental degradation, in Gedio, it leads to afforestation. The tradition is more people, more trees. The inscription of Gedio as a World Heritage Site holds immense significance for its people, acknowledging their generation-long dedication to preserving their unique culture. Gedio's equilibrium between humanity and nature serves as a valuable lesson for the world. In conclusion, I would like to express my gratitude once again to World Heritage Center, the advisory bodies, the African World Heritage Center, and the committee members who have shown their support. In accordance with the rules and procedures of the Convention, the Ethiopian government reaffirms its unwavering commitment to preserving this exceptional heritage, which greatly benefits present and future generations. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, and congratulations again. I now invite ICOMOS to represent the nomination of Kutamako, the land of Batamariba, as an extension of the Kutamako land of Batamariba, Togo. ICOMOS, you may have the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Okay. On attend la présentation. Merci, Monsieur le Président. Il s'agit de la présentation de l'évaluation de l'ICOMOS de Coutamakou, le pays de Batamariba, Bénin. Le rapport de l'ICOMOS est disponible dans le document INF 8B1 à la page 33 de la version en anglais et à la page 34 de la version en français. Diapositive suivante. Le bien est une proposition d'extension du bien Coutamakou, le pays de Batamariba au Togo, inscrit sur la liste du patrimoine mondial en 2004 sur la base des critères 5 et 6. Coutamakou désigne le territoire de Batamariba, qui peut se traduire par les constructeurs ou les architectes. Il se caractérise par un aménagement du territoire original dont l'habitat appelé Takienta possède une architecture unique par la prouesse technique de sa construction, l'ingéniosité des espaces qu'elle offre et la richesse de la symbolique qu'elle déploie. Bosquets, sources et rochers sacrés, collines aménagées en terrasses et réseaux de murets de rétention d'eau, forêts et espèces végétales utilisées dans la construction des sikiens associés aux rituels et croyances des Batamariba composent ce paysage culturel. Coutamakou est un exemple des relations étroites qui unissent les êtres humains et la nature et est crucial pour comprendre la vie synergique des Batamariba autour du massif de la Takora. L'analyse comparative démontre que l'extension proposée forme un continuum cohérent avec la partie togolaise, contribuant à son intégrité puisqu'elle inclut le berceau historique des Batamariba et des lieux sacrés où des activités religieuses importantes et des fêtes d'initiation continuent à y être célébrées. L'extension proposée répond aux critères 5 et 6. Diapositive suivante. Le paysage culturel du Coutamakou s'étend du Togo nord-oriental au Bénin nord-occidental. L'extension proposée, avec une surface de 240 658 hectares, propose d'ajouter la partie béninoise au bien du patrimoine mondial existant et n'a pas de zone tampon, comme c'est le cas avec la partie togolaise. L'ICOMOS considère que les délimitations de l'extension proposée sont adéquates. Diapositive suivante. La protection légale, qui inclut la protection des attributs matériels et immatériels ainsi que les pratiques traditionnelles, est appropriée. L'extension proposée fait l'objet de mécanismes de protection traditionnels dont font partie, par exemple, le respect des esprits des ancêtres et des rites de passage. Le système de gestion est approprié et combine la gestion traditionnelle au niveau des villages et des clans et les mesures légales mises en place par l'État partie pour protéger le site et impliquer les populations locales. Un service de gestion et de promotion de Coutamakou est prévu et un conseil de gestion du site a été créé. Diapositive suivante. Voici un résumé de l'évaluation de l'ICOMOS de la valeur universelle exceptionnelle de l'extension proposée. En raison de la superficie de l'extension proposée, une carte localisant l'emplacement des sikiens sur leur territoire en détaillant la nature de l'occupation des sols, les collines aménagées en terrasses, les réseaux de murets de rétention d'eau, l'emplacement des bosquets et autres lieux sacrés serait nécessaire. Elle permettrait d'identifier les zones de forte concentration d'attributs culturels et naturels et mieux apprécier l'organisation spatiale originelle de ce territoire spécifique, mais également de garantir que les zones qui mériteraient une approche plus conservatoire puissent faire l'objet d'un suivi très étroit. Compte tenu des menaces liées à l'érosion, ICOMOS considère qu'il serait nécessaire d'intégrer un plan de conservation, un plan de travaux d'entretien et des mécanismes de suivi renforcés au plan de gestion afin de prendre en compte ces facteurs avec un plan d'action associé selon des priorités claires à court, moyen et long terme, ainsi que des ressources financières dédiées. L'ICOMOS note aussi qu'il est nécessaire d'impliquer davantage les communautés locales dans le plan de gestion et de conservation du bien et de prendre en compte les pratiques traditionnelles de gestion et de conservation du Coutamakou. Diapositive suivante. Pour conclure, l'ICOMOS recommande que Coutamakou, le pays de Batamariba Bénin, soit renvoyé à l'État partie afin de lui permettre d'établir à court terme une carte localisant l'emplacement des sikiens sur leur territoire et en détaillant la nature de l'occupation du sol, les collines aménagées en terrasses, le réseau de murets de rétention d'eau, l'emplacement des bosquets et autres lieux sacrés. Diapositive suivante. Impliquer davantage à court terme les communautés locales dans le plan de gestion et de conservation de l'extension proposé et prendre en compte les pratiques traditionnelles de gestion et de conservation du Kutamaku. Diapositive suivante. Définir à court et moyen terme des priorités claires en matière de protection et de conservation pour les zones de forte concentration d'attributs. L'ICOMOS a inclus des recommandations complémentaires dans le projet de décision pour renforcer la conservation du bien à long terme. Diapositive suivante. Merci de votre attention.
Thank you very much. So I would like to see if any of the committee members would like to take the floor concerning this nomination. India, you may have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, for giving me the floor on the agenda item 45.8b.7, Kotam Mako, the land of Bata Mariba, extension of Kotam Mako, the land of Bata Mariba, Togo, which has got a referral recommendation by the expert body, but we have amendments presented for inscription. It was nominated under criteria 5 and 6. We appreciate the work done by the World Heritage Secretariat and the reports of the advisory body. The advisory body, ICOMOS, has presented that the cultural landscape possesses exceptional characteristics illustrated by scattered land concessions with surrounding agricultural zones, terrace slopes, grooves, and other sacred places, ritual and funerary spaces, untouched zones, and processional routes for clan rituals. As per ICOMOS, the outstanding universal value has been demonstrated well. It suggested several short-term targets that would be achieved by the state party as soon as possible. India acknowledges that the legal protection, management system, and community involvement of the property are also well managed. India is aware of the uniqueness in terms of the spiritual association between the rituals and the landscape. This fulfills criteria 6. India welcomes having African sites nominated on the World Heritage List. Based on the above, India supports the inscription of this property and would like to congratulate the State Party of Benin, its government, and people for this nomination. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Nigeria, we having looked critically at the explanatory note and the draft decision on this item, as well as the documents made available to us by State Party of Benin, Nigeria has co-sponsored the amendments to the DR on this agenda item. In appreciation of the immense effort made by Benin in taking into account the recommendation of the advisory bodies, and on the following grounds. We note inter alia that the State Party has provided additional information which sufficiently documents the traditional management of the nominated property, including additional maps necessary to understand the nature of the land used, the terrace hills, water retention walls, networks, etc., and has already taken measures to exploit the result of the CHCT Atakora research project in the management of the site's landscape. The continued commitment of the State Party is clearly demonstrated through ongoing conservation action on grant and other plan measures in the strategic action documents of the stakeholder institutes in the country. In effect, out of the 10 recommendations clearly identified, Benin has taken into account about 90% and is working actively to fulfill the rest of the obligations. It also undertakes to draw in the short and medium terms the municipal development master plan of 3 association communities once the site is inscribed. Mr. Chair, Nigeria believes that the purpose of the inscription of a site on the World Heritage List is to continue to enhance its protection along those they share similar historical background and outstanding universal values. A great deal of work has been accomplished by state party in cooperation with the advisory bodies towards this end. We then have no doubt that the boundary extension of Cotomaco, land of Batamariba, Togo, to include Cotomaco, land of Batamariba, Benin, is in perfect harmony with the principle of this convention. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Sultanate Oman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also would like to thank the State Party Benin for their effort to extend the property Cotomaco, the land of the Batamariba. I would also like to thank ICOMOS for their positive and constructive reporting. However, after reviewing the file and listening to India and the justification and effort and mechanism to protect and enhance these sites, such as 1, initiating Management Council to meet regularly to review the needs of the site. Second, in 2018, the government initiated an ambitious project focused on the conservation and enhancement of the architecture of the Cotomaco. 3, they have their management plan since December 2020 and up to 2025. And 4, most of the recommendations of the draft decision have already been taken into account. In addition, the extension of the property would enrich Benin, which hosts a variety of components according to its universal values that guide its inscription. Therefore, Oman supports strongly the inscription of this site and the amendment decision presented by India. I thank you.
Shukran jazilan. Mali.
Monsieur le Président, je voudrais à l'entame de mon propos féliciter tous les pays dont les biens sont admis à figurer depuis hier sur notre prestigieuse liste du patrimoine. Je voudrais également vous renouveler à vous-même mes chaleureuses félicitations pour votre excellente conduite de nos débats. Distingués délégués, souvenez-vous, il y a 2 jours, dans le cadre de l'examen d'un autre bien, je disais que l'État du Bénin avait su développer une nouvelle vision pour la protection du patrimoine culturel et naturel. La candidature de Cotomaco, du côté béninois, traduit une parfaite illustration de cette nouvelle politique. En effet, le pays des Batamariba, y compris l'extension proposée pour inscription sur la liste du patrimoine mondial, est un exemple exceptionnel du système traditionnel d'occupation du terroir. Toujours vivant et dynamique, il est soumis à des systèmes et techniques traditionnels très durables et reflète la culture singulière des Batamariba, notamment les remarquables maisons de tourelles appelées sikiens. L'extension proposée pour inscription renforce la justification du critère 5, tel qu'il s'applique à la partie togolaise du bien inscrit, et ainsi que le soulignent clairement les évaluations de l'ICOMOS, dont nous saluons ici le travail remarquable. Il en ressort que la partie béninoise du Cotomaco comprend tous les éléments pour exprimer sa VIE, tant sur le plan matériel, habitat et environnement, qu'immatériel, pratiques rituelles et croyances liées au kiskien. Quant aux menaces liées aux pressions dues au développement, nous notons avec intérêt les efforts de l'État parti du Bénin qui a adopté des mesures de planification pour faire face à des pressions de développement. À cela s'ajoute l'existence des modes de gestion traditionnels du foncier qui fait des terres un espace sacré épargné par des projets d'infrastructures d'envergure. En réponse aux recommandations de l'ICOMOS, le Bénin a soumis des cartes réalisées courant juillet 2023 où on voit l'emplacement des Sikiens sur leur territoire avec des détails requis, la nature de l'occupation du sol et des terres, les zones où les collines sont aménagées en terrasses, les réseaux des murs de rétention d'eau, l'emplacement des bosquets et autres lieux sacrés. Soulignons que l'inventaire HTC Atakora, qui était en cours d'analyse au moment de la soumission, a été finalisé et mis à la disposition de l'État parti qui l'exploite judicieusement dans la gestion du paysage. En outre, concernant l'implication des communautés, je souhaite mentionner fortement que l'entièreté du dossier de soumission, la préparation et la rédaction de l'inscription ont été faites par l'État parti en liaison permanente avec les propriétaires de Sikiens, les organisations villageoises de préservation et de promotion des Sikiens, les responsables religieux traditionnels, les organisations des artisans, le collectif des masques endogènes, le collectif des femmes s'occupant de l'enduit des Sikiens, les tradithérapeutes et j'en passe. S'agissant de la gestion du bien, il a été réalisé avec les communautés qui ont participé à sa validation en 2020. Ce plan de gestion prévoit l'actualisation progressive de l'inventaire du système traditionnel de gestion des Kutamaku pour la période 2021 à 2025. De même, sur la base de la cartographie récente, l'État parti du Bénin s'active avec les communautés à définir une stratégie de protection et de préservation en ce qui concerne les zones de forte concentration d'attributs. Soulignons qu'il s'engage à en faire un compte-rendu au Centre du patrimoine mondial dans un délai raisonnable. Enfin, pour ce qui concerne la gestion des risques, le ministre béninois de la Culture a déjà pris en compte cette recommandation en faisant inscrire au plan de travail annuel exercice 2024 l'élaboration du plan de gestion des risques. C'est dire que l'aspect de l'impact du changement climatique sera rapidement ajouté au terme de référence précédemment arrêté. Distingués délégués, c'est à la lumière de l'ensemble de ces éléments qui précèdent que le Mali a soumis des amendements au projet de décision sous examen. D'autres États membres se sont déjà portés co-auteurs de 10 amendements. Aussi, appelons-nous le comité à donner un avis favorable à ce projet d'extension et à décider de l'inscription du Kutamagu, le pays de Batamariba, Bénin, sur la liste du patrimoine mondial. Je souhaite, Monsieur le Président, vous demander de bien vouloir donner la parole à l'État parti du Bénin, dont les experts ici présents se feront le devoir de nous édifier davantage quant aux réponses apportées aux recommandations des organes consultatifs. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much. South Africa.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, for allowing South Africa to intervene on this matter. Mr. Chair, let me start by commending the advisory body for the comprehensive report that has been compiled. After assessing both the ICOMOS report and the responses by the State Party of Benin, South Africa would like to support the inscription of the extension of the property Kouta Mako, the land of Batamariba, to Benin as proposed by Mali. Since the drafting of the ICOMOS evaluation report, the State Party of Benin has worked tirelessly to address most of the issues raised by the advisory body. Specifically, the State Party of Benin has confirmed that better mapping has already been developed and included in the additional information submitted to ICOMOS in July 2023. This includes a georeference database as suggested by the advisory body, developed under the umbrella of the research project Habitat and Terre Crue HTC Atakora, also supported by the Catholic University of Louvain. The result of this research project were incorporated in the management of the cultural landscape since they allowed for the identification on the maps of zones of higher and lower concentration of attributes. These data will also inform areas of priorities for protection and conservation. In terms of community participation in the management of the site, the State Party confirmed that the community has an active role in the Heritage Management Council since 2020. A management plan for the renovation and maintenance of these traditionally built fortified structures is expected to be completed by end of 2023. And the State Party is working closely with communities to develop a conservation policy. Furthermore, the State Parties of Benin and Togo are already discussing a transnational management authority which will ensure an integrated approach to the management of the property as one. In the meantime, the State Party of Benin has already established at national level an integrated management structure resourced with qualified personnel dedicated to the conservation of the site. Regarding the recommendation on the municipal development master plans of Bokombe, Toukontona, and Natitungo, and the urban planning regulations for the urban centers of Bokombe, a new legislation on urbanism was passed in July 2023, aiming to make the cities more sustainable. Additionally, the implementation of a roadmap in accordance with the established order of priorities will be developed after a policy and a strategy document are completed. In conclusion, Mr. Chair, we would like to reiterate South Africa's support for the inscription of the extension of the property Kouta Mako, the land of the Batambira, to Benin. Thank you, Mr. Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Rwanda.
Monsieur le Président, La délégation du Rwanda remercie l'ICOMOS pour son évaluation scientifique menée au site de Kutamaku. Ce site, qui est une extension avec la partie togolaise inscrite sur la liste du patrimoine mondial en 2004, est un paysage culturel vivant, est occupé par les Batamariba, peuple dont les remarquables maisons à tourelles en terre nommées Takienta sont devenues un symbole au Bénin. Le Kutamaku est un exemple éminent d'occupation du territoire par un peuple à la recherche constante de l'harmonie entre l'homme et la nature qui l'entoure. Monsieur le Président, le type d'habitat de Kutamaku particulier, dont l'esthétique repose sur des formes spectaculaires, est le résultat du génie créateur des Batamariba, qui par extension signifie les bons maçons. Ainsi, la délégation du Rwanda soutient l'amendement présenté pour l'inscription de ce bien. Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you very much. Japan.
Thank you, Chair, for having me the floor. Japan commends the State Party of Benin for their efforts to extend protection for this important site. This is the case which we highly appreciate because it is also the transnational initiatives. It is needed in this kind of cultural landscape where the area is not limited in one state party. We also thank to the Secretariat and advisory bodies for their excellent report. Chair, carefully reading the document provided, we understand one of the most important issues here is the map. In order to evaluate the value of the proposed extended area, mainly on its integrity, it is also quite essential for facilitating appropriate management and protection. But seeing the amendment proposed by Mari, if I understand correctly, necessary map has been already provided. Since we believe this point is important, we would like to ask the State Party to clarify on this point, on this situation about the map, some more details. We would also like to ask the advisory bodies for their comment on this point. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Japan. Egypt.
Shukran, Sayyidi Rais. Egypt wishes to express its support for the proposed boundary modification of the Kutamuku, the land of Batamarima. We have carefully reviewed the file and commend the State Party for its commitment to preserving this unique cultural landscape and for presenting this modification. Furthermore, we welcome the efforts made by the State Party in producing additional maps that enhance our understanding of the property's land use, terraced hills, water retention walls, groves, and sacred places. These maps are essential tools for informed decision-making and effective management. We are pleased to note that measures have already been taken to utilize the results of the research project in the management of the Kutamuku landscape. This demonstrates a proactive approach to conservation and sustainable management. We would like to be added to the list of co-sponsors of the amendment to this decision, as we believe that this modification will enhance the protection and management of this exceptional cultural landscape. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Shukran jazilan. Belgica.
Oui, merci, Monsieur le Président. Ce dossier des modifications du site de Kutamaku, tout comme le dossier que nous avons examiné hier concernant la candidature d'Otsala Kokwa, nous montre les effets de l'absence d'une session annuelle de notre comité. Comme nous l'avons vu pour le Congo hier, le Bénin a, dans le cas présent, fait le choix de la proactivité et n'est pas resté les bras croisés, mais a mis à profit ces 2 dernières années pour réaliser des progrès significatifs. Cela a déjà été dit, mais nous pensons que cela mérite d'être salué. Nous apprécions également le travail mené par les États parties du Togo et du Bénin en faveur d'une structure de gestion transnationale du bien. Cette collaboration est un bon exemple de mise en œuvre de la Convention et de son esprit. Le fait que le Bénin s'engage fortement en faveur des communautés locales, conformément au 5C, est tout aussi exemplaire. Pour ces raisons, la Belgique se joint donc volontiers à l'amendement qui est proposé par le Mali et le Nigeria et se réjouit de voir ce site culturel africain élargi figurer sur la liste du patrimoine mondial. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much. Greece.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Greece would like to congratulate the State Party on the preparation of the nomination dossier. Having carefully examined the submitted documentation, as well as the advisory body's evaluation, we support the amendment submitted by Mali concerning the inscription of Kutamaku as an extension to the already inscribed property of the Batamariba territory, Togo, and commend the State Party for its constant efforts for safeguarding the property. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. So I'd like now to pass the floor to the State Party to respond to the questions addressed by Mali and Japan.
Monsieur le Président, l'État parti du Bénin voudrait vous remercier de tout cœur pour la manière dont vous dirigez nos travaux. Faisant suite au mot du Mali, nous voudrions effectivement confirmer que la plupart des recommandations des organisations consultatives ont été prises en compte. C'est ainsi que sont résolues, par exemple, les questions relatives à l'exploitation des résultats de l'inventaire du HTC, à l'implication des communautés et à la prise en compte des pratiques traditionnelles de gestion, à la définition des priorités en matière de conservation des zones de forte concentration d'attributs et au plan de gestion des risques. Le mécanisme de gestion du bien par les deux pays est en cours et depuis 2016, je puis vous assurer, Monsieur le Président, que grâce à la volonté politique au sommet de l'État, la question des ressources financières ne se pose plus quant à la conservation de nos biens culturels, y compris donc du Kutamaku. Nous avons déjà produit les éléments cartographiques supplémentaires demandés, montrant ainsi l'emplacement des Sikiens sur le territoire, la nature de l'occupation du sol, les collines aménagées en terrasse, le réseau de murets de rétention d'eau, ainsi que l'emplacement des bosquets et autres lieux sacrés. Très prochainement, nous allons lancer la réalisation des schémas directeurs d'aménagement des 3 communes concernées. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you very much. I would like to pass the floor to the advisory bodies to respond to this comment.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. L'ICOMOS reconnaît que cette évaluation date de 2022 et que l'État parti a fait des efforts pour répondre aux recommandations de l'ICOMOS. Mais l'ICOMOS n'est pas en position pour évaluer les informations complémentaires apportées par l'État parti et reste à la disposition du comité pour évaluer les progrès faits par l'État parti. Pour répondre à la question de l'honorable délégué du Japon, l'ICOMOS a considéré les limites du bien comme appropriées. La carte est recommandée comme un outil essentiel de la gestion et conservation du bien pour identifier les zones de concentration des attributs et définir les priorités de conservation. Merci.
Thank you very much. I'd like to see if there are any more interventions from the floor. Japan.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the State Party and ICOMOS for their additional comment or information provided. Based upon the information provided, we are happy to support the proposed amendment by Mari. We understand the concern by ICOMOS about the management, but in this specific case, or in general for this kind of cultural landscape, management and protection is always a challenge. And in this specific case, we believe at this point, it's inscribed and make a support, international support to the state party and to the local authority and also local people. In this sense, we support the amendment by Mary. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So I see Zambia.
Chairperson, Zambia commends the State Party of Benin for their efforts in ongoing conservation works on the ground and their inclusion of communities in decision-making with regards to the property. We take note that the State Party was able to provide additional information requested for providing information on the traditional management of the nominated property. We are therefore in support of proposed boundary modification and would like to be added as co-authors to the proposed amendment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. St. Vincent.
Mr. Chairman, we have listened to all the comments, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines is in support of the amendment to extend the boundaries.
Thank you very much. Argentina.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Agradecemos a ICOMOS por la presentación del informe, así también como la Secretaría del Proyecto, y luego de escuchar las explicaciones de ICOMOS, al respecto queremos apoyar las enmiendas propuestas por Malí en el entendido de que la mayoría de las recomendaciones contenidas en el proyecto de decisión original ya han sido implementadas total o parcialmente y que continúan los avances en ese sentido, tal cual se muestra en la abundante información compartida por Benín a los miembros de este comité. Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you very much. So no more interventions. I therefore invite you, dear colleagues, to adopt the draft decision 45Com 8B.7. But before doing so, I would like to ask the rapporteur if she has received any amendment on the draft decision proposed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have received one amendment from the distinguished delegation of Mali, which is co-authored by the distinguished delegations of Nigeria and Egypt, and further supported from the floor by the distinguished delegations of India, Oman, South Africa, Rwanda, Egypt, Belgium, Greece, Japan, Zambia, and the St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and Argentina. The amendments, as you see on the screen from Para 2, approves the significant boundary modification of Kutamako land of Batamariba, Togo, to include Kutamako land of the Batamariba, Benin, on the basis of criteria 5 and 6. Para 3 takes note of the following provisional statement of outstanding universal value. Para 4 invites the state party to take into account in a planned program the following recommendations. Point A, there is just a slight change in the first line. Instead of draw up in the short term, it says submit a map indicating the location of the SICAN in their territory. And the last line, where there is a deletion of proposed in front of extension. Rest, point A stays as is. Point B, there is just a small deletion in the first line. In the short term is deleted. Same for point C. The phrase in the short term is deleted. Point D, elaborate the municipal development master plans of Bukumbe, Tukantuna, and Natitingo. Point E, diligently implement the current management plan and evaluate it as soon as it expires. Point F remains same except deletion of in the short and medium terms. Point G is deleted, and the initial para 4 gets merged in this revised para 4. So point G from that. Set up the transnational property management body under the supervision of the two cultural heritage directorates of Togo and Benin and define its operating procedures and missions. The next point is deleted. And point C is also deleted. Revised para 5 requests the state party to submit to the World Heritage Center by 1 December 2024 an updated report on the state of conservation of the property and on the implementation of the recommendations mentioned above for examination by the World Heritage Committee at its 47th session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ethiopia.
Apologies, Chairperson. We thought that we had sent the communication that we are co-authoring this amendment. My country's name does not figure in the list. We kindly request Secretariat to reflect that, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mamlaka Arabiya Saudiya.
Assalamu alaikum. We would like to add our name as a supporter for this amendment.
Shukran jazilan. Thailand.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thailand also would like to support the proposed amendment by Mali. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Qatar.
شكرا سيد الرئيس. نود إضافة اسم دولة قطر مع الدول الداعمة لهذا القرار وشكرا.
Shukran jazilan. So I see no more intervention. So I'd like to invite you to examine the draft decision paragraph by paragraph. Paragraph 1, we don't have any amendments. I will wait for the Secretariat to reflect all the amendments first. Thank you very much. So paragraph 1, we don't have any amendments. Do we agree to adopt this as it is? I see no objections. Adopted. Paragraph 2, we have a proposal. Do we agree to the proposed text? I see no objections. Adopted as amended. Paragraph 3, we have a proposal. Do we agree to the proposed text? I see no objections. Adopted as amended. Paragraph 4, we have a proposal. Do we agree to the proposed text? I see no objections. Adopted as amended. Paragraph 5. We have a proposed text. Do we agree to the proposed paragraph? I see no objections. Adopted as amended. Dear colleague, I invite you to adopt the draft decision as a whole, and if there are no objections, I therefore declare draft decision 45Com 8B.7 adopted as amended. Congratulations to Benin on behalf of the entire committee. Benin, you may have the floor for 2 minutes.
Monsieur le Président, Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs les chefs de délégation, je voudrais, au nom de la délégation de l'État parti du Bénin, remercier le Royaume d'Arabie Saoudite pour son accueil chaleureux et l'organisation parfaite de ce comité du patrimoine mondial de l'UNESCO. Le Bénin entretient d'excellentes relations de coopération et de travail avec l'UNESCO et particulièrement avec le Centre du patrimoine mondial et ses organes consultatifs. Depuis 2016, le Bénin est gouverné sous le leadership du président Patrice Talon, suivant une nouvelle vision qui fait de la culture le deuxième pilier de développement après l'agriculture, avec des investissements sans précédent dans le patrimoine national. C'est dans ce sens que s'inscrit la présentation par le gouvernement du dossier de demande d'inscription, ou plus précisément d'extension du Coutamakou, le pays des Batamaribè, sur la liste du patrimoine mondial. En approuvant ce jour l'extension, le comité offre l'occasion au Togo et au Bénin de gérer conjointement et harmonieusement ce bien transfrontalier qui retrouve ainsi son unité et l'ensemble de ses attributs dans un mécanisme de conservation cohérent et continu. Je voudrais à cet égard exprimer, au nom du gouvernement béninois, les vifs remerciements de notre délégation à tous les membres du comité pour leur soutien, au groupe africain et plus précisément et spécialement à la délégation du Mali qui a accepté d'endosser ce dossier au nom de mon pays. Je voudrais aussi étendre ces remerciements au sein du patrimoine mondial, évidemment à l'ICOMOS et au Fonds pour le patrimoine mondial africain pour leur soutien et accompagnement durant tout le processus qui a permis d'aboutir à cette belle conclusion. Par cette extension, enfin, vous donnez un grand signe de reconnaissance et d'espérance à l'ensemble de la communauté Batamaribè qui vous remercie par ma voix. L'État partie du Bénin prend l'engagement de déployer sans délai les actions nécessaires pour la conservation et la valorisation optimale de ce nouveau bien transfrontalier du patrimoine mondial. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much and congratulations again. So now I invite ICOMOS to present the nomination of Koker archaeological site ancient of Bingabora or Orosho Gargia, Cambodia. But before I give the floor to the Secretariat, Mr. Balsamo, you may have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairperson. Concerning the evaluation of this nomination, we received a factual error notification, which is on page 43 of both English and French version of document in faith before. And in this notification, there is a very small correction that has also an impact on the text of the statement of OUV, and this correction has been already integrated in the version that the Secretariat has. Thank you.
This is the presentation of the ICOMOS evaluation of Koker, archaeological site of ancient Lingapura, or Chok Gardia, Cambodia. The ICOMOS report can be found in document inf.8b1 on page 44 of the English version and page 59 of the French version. On this evaluation, ICOMOS has received a letter on factual errors and has acknowledged some of these errors. Next slide. Located between the Dangrek and the Kulin mountain ranges on a gently sloping hill, some 80 kilometers northeast of Angkor, the nominated property is a sacred urban ensemble consisting of numerous temples and sanctuaries, with associated sculptures, inscriptions, and wall paintings, archaeological remains, and hydraulic structures. Constructed in a single phase over a 23-year period, it was one of two rival Khmer Empire capitals, the other being Angkor, that coexisted between 921 and 928 CE, and was the sole capital until 944 CE, after which the empire's capital moved back to Angkor. Believed to be laid out on the basis of ancient India religious concepts of the universe, the city demonstrated unconventional city planning, architectural features, artistic expression known as Koker style, and construction technology notably the use of very large monolithic blocks. The comparative analysis successfully demonstrates that although Kokure was short-lived as a capital and thus acted only as an interlude in Khmer history, its innovations had a profound and lasting influence on urban construction and artistic expression in Southeast Asia. The nominated property demonstrates criteria 2 and 4. Next slide. The nominated property comprises 30 temples and sanctuaries, 30 archaeological remains such as palace remains, platforms and pedestals, boundary stones, quarry sites, and artifacts, and 9 hydraulic structures, including artificial ponds and embankments. All the attributes are within the property area. The requirements for authenticity and integrity have been met. The boundaries of the nominated property and buffer zones are adequate. Next slide. The legal protection and management system of the property are satisfactory. The current visitor management and community involvement are adequate, although a heritage impact assessment should be made for the proposed visitor center complex before the project is commenced. Capacity building has been successful through extensive international collaborations. It is recommended strengthening the capacity of the staff for the long-term protection, conservation, and management to be kept as a top priority of the state party. Next slide. Here is a summary of the ICMOS evaluation of the proposed outstanding universal value of the nominated property. Next slide. To conclude, ICMOS recommends that Kokure archaeological site of ancient Lingapura or Chok Gajia, Cambodia, be inscribed on the World Heritage List on the basis of criterion 2 and 4, and has included a number of further recommendations in the draft decision to aid the long-term conservation of the property. Next slide. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. And I'd like to know if there are any interventions from the floor, or we proceed to adopt the draft decision 45Com 8B.8. But before doing so, I'd like to ask the rapporteur if she has received any amendments on the draft decision proposed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have received no amendments for the draft decision 45Com 8B.8.
Thank you very much. And therefore, I declare draft decision 45Com 8B.8 adopted. Congratulations to the State of Cambodia. On behalf of the entire committee, Cambodia, you may have the floor.
Monsieur le Président du Comité, Monsieur le Directeur du Centre du patrimoine mondial, honorables collègues, d'abord, je voulais exprimer mes remerciements pour les accueils remarquables des pays arabes saoudites pour cette 45e session du patrimoine mondial. Chers collègues, notre satisfaction est grande. Il va sans dire de voir figurer désormais sur la liste du patrimoine de l'humanité le site de Kokure. Il est le plus vaste après encore et dans sa longue et prestigieuse histoire, il a même supplanté en temps au Xe siècle. Encore comme histoire, comme le capital de l'Empire khmer. Aujourd'hui, grâce à votre décision, Kokure peut inscrire un moment historique de plus dans son histoire millénaire. Nos vifs remerciements s'adressent d'abord à ICMOS qui a conduit avec science et conscience le processus d'évaluation. Notre irremplaçable conseil a également bien voulu nous faire profiter de ses conseils et orientations pour une bonne gestion de Kokure. Au nom du gouvernement royal du Cambodge et son peuple, je voudrais confirmer notre engagement à mettre en œuvre, dans les meilleures conditions, ces précieuses recommandations. La présence à mes côtés de son excellent Committee, gouverneur de province de Preah-Vihear, où se trouve le site de Kokeh, se veut le signe de notre engagement essentiel. Les autorités régionales et locales veilleront de leur part à protéger le bien inscrit. Enfin, je rappelle que nous avons une autre garantie pour la préservation de Kokeh à l'avenir. Le Comité international de coordination CIC, qui a donné ses preuves pour le suivi des programmes de protection et de valorisation du temple de Preah-Vihear depuis une décennie. Ce CIC sera appelé à aider les gestions de Kokeh dans leur mission. Il m'est agréable pour conclure d'exprimer notre reconnaissance au Comité du patrimoine mondial. Je tiens également à vous inviter tous à venir visiter les joyaux de ce patrimoine. Encore une fois, merci à vous tous.
Thank you very much and congratulations again. Mike. So as we are advancing in our schedule and we are moving a little bit fast. So before we move to the second proposed item, which is nomination proposed by Republic of Korea, they wanted to maintain the same schedule, which is afternoon, and Mongolia agreed to advance their examination of their file for now. If there are no objections, we will proceed with examination of Deer Sand Monument and related site of Bronze Age for Mongolia. So I see India.
Excellency, I would be very grateful if the modified agenda for today could be specified so that we can make a note of which agenda item is going to appear where. Because from what we have from the World Heritage site, it says completely different from what you are saying. So I take we are in your hands and we seek your help. If someone could just enumerate the agenda for today, what is remaining, then we can be aware when our sites are coming. Thank you.
Absolutely, Your Excellency. So I'll pass the floor to the Secretariat to demonstrate and explain the updates.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. Actually, the committee has been very efficient. So the planning of this morning, which was to finish with the examination of the property located in Cambodia, is completed. So since you still have half an hour, and that we were supposed to continue in the afternoon with the Republic.
I'm just asking just an enumeration. I'll be very grateful. Without an explanation, I'm not seeking any explanation from the Secretariat. I appreciate the work of the Secretariat. I appreciate the efficiency and the super efficiency. I'm just seeking, please tell me the agenda so I can make a note of it, because the printout which I have mentions something else. So I'm in your hands. Just enumerate the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. It will be distributed to all the committee members immediately so that you have the revised version. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So if there are no objections, we will proceed with the next property. So we see we are good with this. So I invite ICOMOS to present the nomination of the Deer Stone Monuments and related sites of Bronze Age, Mongolia. ICOMOS, you have the floor.
Document INF.8B1 on page 112 of the English version and page 133 of the French version. Next slide. The Deer Stone Monuments and related sites of Bronze Age is a serial property that includes examples of high-quality megalithic monumental art created by Eurasian nomadic people. These form key parts of larger complexes that include key users or burial mounds and other site attributes. The deer stone monuments exhibit an extraordinary variety of both highly stylish and representational engravings of statues. Besides the deer stones, the attributes include the key users containing human remains, pavement areas, circular or square rock fences, satellite mounds containing horse remains, and satellite border ovals or rings, as well as quarry together with their landscape settings. The comparative analysis justifies the nominated property as an outstanding example of a type of animal style art, ecological landscape, megalithic monumental art of the highest quality and artistic vitality. The nominated property is also an exceptional testimony to the ceremonial funeral practice and culture of Eurasian Bronze Age nomads. ICOMOS considers that the nominated property meets criteria 1 and 3, but the criterion 4 has not been demonstrated. Next slide. The nomination consists of 4 component parts, comprises Bronze Age and Early Iron Age deer stone monuments and related sites located within the eastern and northern slopes of the Khangai Ridge in central Mongolia. The requirements of integrity and authenticity for the whole series and for each of the component parts have been met. ICOMOS considers that the nominated serial property includes all the elements necessary to express the proposed outstanding universal value, and the selection of component size has been justified. The nominated property is affected by development in minor ways. There is some tourism development, which is located too close to the Ushikin-Over component part, and the residual impact of abandoned mining in the buffer zone of the Koretamari component part. ICOMOS recommends that the buffer zone to the south of the Ushikin-Over component part be extended to include the area where there is currently a tent hotel. The hotel should be relocated outside the extended buffer zone, further away from the nominated property. Next slide. The primary mechanisms for protecting the nominated property are the traditional practices undertaken by local people based on their respect for the old relics and spiritual objects, while the legal protection is provided through the Mongolian Law on the Protection of Cultural Heritage 2014 and the list of immovable historical and cultural heritage properties under state, provincial, and local protection 2008. The nominated component parts are all state-owned, and local people play a major role in managing the property. In addition, the government of Mongolia has created the National Program for the Protection of Stone Heritage Properties in Mongolia as a major protective measure. A concise management plan has recently been developed and includes a revised landscape approach and research objectives. The management plan now requires implementation. The state of conservation is satisfactory, and that factors affecting the nominated property are grazing animal impacts, tourism development, disused mining infrastructure in the buffer zone of one component part, and unsympathetic protective fencing. No further re-election of deer stones should be undertaken without a robust conservation methodology. The monitoring arrangements are generally satisfactory, but greater emphasis should be placed on measuring the actual state of conservation of the identified attributes, and it would be also advisable that the monitoring system is adapted for easy integration of its outcomes into the periodic reporting questionnaire. Next slide. Here is a summary of the ICOMOS evaluation of the proposed outstanding universal value of the nominated property. Next slide. To conclude, ICOMOS recommends that deer stone monuments and related sites of Bronze Age Mongolia be inscribed in the World Heritage List on the basis of criterion 1 and 3, and has included a number of further recommendations in the draft decision to aid the long-term conservation of the property. Next slide. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. I'd like to ask the committee if they have any intervention concerning this nomination. If none, then I therefore invite you, dear colleagues, to adopt the draft decision 45-COM 8B.14. But before doing so, I would like to ask the rapporteur if she has received any amendment on the draft decision proposed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have received no amendments to this draft decision 45-COM 8B.14. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any comments on this regard? I see none. Therefore, I declare draft decision 45-COM 8B.14 adopted. Congratulations to Mongolia on behalf of the entire committee. You may have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Esteemed committee members, distinguished delegates. As the Minister of Culture of Mongolia, I extend my profound gratitude to the World Heritage Committee for inscribing the Deer Stone Monument and related Stone Age sites on the World Heritage list, acknowledging their artistic vitality and confirming them as the masterpiece of human creative genius. The Deer Stone monuments are a testament to the ingenuity of our nomadic ancestors who inhabited the Central Asian highlands. These monuments offer striking illustrations that provide insight into the way of life, cultural sophistication, and harmonious coexistence with the nature. The research surrounding these monuments indicates that their creators existed not in isolation, but amongst diverse nomadic tribes, fostering vibrant cultural exchange. The inscription reaffirms our collective commitment to diversity, intercultural understanding, and the protection of cultural heritage with outstanding universal value. Mongolia is a proud custodian of a rich cultural heritage. Our legal framework for safeguarding these precious monuments and assets in alignment with the conservation set by UNESCO. We collaborate actively with all relevant parties to ensure that our unique and precious cultural heritage is passed on to the future generations, even in the face of new challenges such as climate change. Our commitment in this regard is unwavering. We look forward to continuing our partnership with World Heritage Center and the advisory bodies to ensure that the values embodied by Mongolia's cultural heritage can be enjoyed and appreciated for centuries to come. In closing, I'd like to acknowledge the valuable contribution made by World Heritage Center and e-commerce in making this inscription possible. I would like to also express my sincere gratitude to the researchers and scientists whose hard work has helped bring the historical and cultural significance of this newly inscribed World Heritage Site to global audience. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and congratulations again. Dear colleagues, so I would like to ask the Secretariat to use the remaining time to update the timetable, and also would like to pass the floor to the Director for some general announcements. Mongolia, the mic.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. For lunchtime, we have 5 side events that are planned. The first will start at 1:30 in Rock Art Room on World Heritage and Corporate Sustainability. It is organized by UNESCO and the Flanders. And the second side event will take place also starting from 1:30 at the historic Jeddah Room. And it is organized by the Heritage Commission and Ministry of Culture of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and it's titled Haji Roots Dab Zubaydah. The third side event, it's also going to be to start at 1:30, and it will take place at At-Turaif District Room, and it's organized by the World Heritage Institute of Training and Research for Asia and the Pacific region, under the auspices of UNESCO, WITRAP, and it's titled The Next 50 Years, World Heritage Education Towards the Future. And then the fourth one will take place at the celebration room next to the plenary hall here. And it is organized by Kazakhstan and is titled Heritage in Harmony with Development for Sustainable Futures, commemorating the 20th anniversary of the inscription of the mausoleum of Khoja Ahmed Yesawi. And the last side event, which is also going to start at 1:30, will take place in Hegra Room, which is the advisory body's space. So organized by the 3 advisory bodies, and is titled Tooling Up for Effective World Heritage Management Planning. Thank you, Mr. Chairperson.
Thank you, Mr. Director. So we will resume after lunch break.